I am well into my social work career. However, if I was to start all over again, here is what I would do differently. Welcome to By Kia Bell. I'm Kia, and I'm here to share with you everything social work. So be sure to like and subscribe for more social work content. Let's get right into it. So to start off with a little bit of my background, if you're new to my channel, I am a school social worker and I have been in school social work for about 6 years. I graduated with my Master of Social Work degree, and I also obtained my Bachelor of Social Work degree. I obtained both of my degrees at University of Nevada, Reno, and my experience previous to school social work is I've done a practicum at a family resource center, a practicum at a psychiatric unit in a hospital, and I've worked at a foster care agency. So that's a little bit about me and my experience. So to rewind from the beginning, if I was to start over in social work and I knew that that is the career that I wanted to do, first and foremost, I would get all of my prerequisite credits from a community college. The reason for this is because, one, you'll save so much money. I did all of my prereqs at my university, and while I loved the experience, it was very pricey for literally the same type of credits that you need. And what I mean by prerequisites are like your English classes, your math classes, even some electives, science classes, like things that you just need before you really start your social work classes and that focus. So what you can do is get your associates and do all your prereqs, and then transfer over to a college or university where you can get your bachelor's degree and focus on social work classes. So that's number one. Go to a community college, save your money. Don't make the mistake that I made. Now, if there's somebody out there who is currently in a university, maybe your freshman, sophomore year, I would recommend looking at a community college in your city and seeing if there are any credits that you can take there instead of your university, and then just have it transfer over credits. Because that's what I did. I believe my freshman, sophomore, maybe even my junior year, I was still doing that. So I would take like one course every semester at a community college and then the rest at my university. And that saved me a few $100s every semester. So it's always helpful to like look and see and do some research. Number two is I would try to be more involved in like community events that were like social work centered. So I obviously had some peers in social work that I would like study with or to complete projects with, but outside of that, I never really hung out with anybody or went to community events that happened on campus because, one, I worked, and then I also just had a group of friends that weren't in social work, so we didn't really, I really have time for anybody outside of like my friend group. But I had some peers who were involved in like social work events, and then also we had a social work like sorority, and I thought that was really cool that I thought about joining but ended up not because I found out about it a little bit too late. I think it was my senior year, and I was like, well, there's really no point. But if that is an opportunity presented to you, I would say take it, especially because that's a great opportunity for you to build connections in the social work community, which could lead to a really good job or a really good promotion. Just having those connections can be really powerful. Even if it's not like a job, you may work a job and like need resources or need to build connections with shareholders in the community. And that's a great way to just have some people like in your phone who you can call up when you need, or vice versa. If they know that you're like in school social work and they need to implement maybe a program in a school, they can call you up, and that's a great way to do a partnership. So really effective to build those connections while you're in school. Number three is to try to find a practicum that offers a stipend. This may be a little bit difficult to do, but there were some agencies when I was in my bachelor's program that was very vocal about having stipends. However, there was some stipulations with that, like you had to work for a certain amount of time after you graduated, and then if not, then you would have to give that money back to them. But they're not all like that. For example, when I became a supervisor, my superintendent let me know that there is a grant where we would be able to provide a stipend to practicum students. And so I went and found some practicum students. I didn't tell them about the stipend at the time of the interview because I wanted them to be there because they wanted to be there, not because they knew there was a stipend involved. So this may be a little contradictory, but if they would have asked me, I would have definitely told them, like, yeah, there is, I think it was $2,000 per semester stipend, which is a substantial amount of money when you're still in school and not able to like be full-time worker. So I thought that was a really great benefit. I don't think it's right to have students do hours and hours and hours of practicum and internships without being compensated, especially in this economy. It can be really difficult. So definitely something I would do differently is when I was applying for practicums and attending interviews, a question that I would ask is there a stipend available for the hours worked per semester? And see what they say. Okay, number 4 is I would go straight from my bachelor's into my master's program. What I did back when I graduated with my bachelor's is I took a year. It wasn't a whole year, actually. It was like 8 months before I decided to apply to a master's program. And then after the process, it was about a year that I actually started a master's program. And the reason I did that was because after I graduated with my bachelor's, I wasn't even thinking about going for my master's, but a lot of my peers were. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how you guys are doing it. I am burnt out and ready to just start working and get some money. But as I started working at a foster care agency, I was like, yeah, this is not going to cut it, this salary and how much I'm making and how much work I'm putting forth. So I started to look into master's program. I do wish someone would have told me, like, hey, bachelor's is great, but to get a really good paying job, you will need your master's degree for majority of positions out there. There are some positions where it's not necessary to have a master's, but I have not come across one that only requires a bachelor's and a pretty good salary to compensate you for your work. So that's what I would do differently. I know it can be really intimidating to think about because you're tired, you're burnt out, but I also believe that the education that you received in your 4 years of undergrad or however long it took you is still so fresh that like it's easy to go into a master's program. And then also you already like built your life around this school schedule and you're so in this educational mindset that I also think that it's pretty easy to just go straight into a master's program. If you have a bachelor's degree in social work, you will be in an advanced standing master's program. So it really would only be 4 semesters. I think you can push out 4 semesters, right? Like after completing 4 years, it's going to seem like nothing. So that's my personal recommendation. There's just, when I went back to school after a year, there was just this adjustment period of like having to figure out what I'm going to do for work and money, and also just trying to get back into that educational mindset of having to read and do papers and discussion boards. Like it took some time to adjust back to it, but it also wasn't that bad if you do decide to wait. Like it's fine, especially if you don't know like if a master's degree is what you want to go for while you're in your undergrad. So that one's kind of tough to decipher, like if that's even what you want to do for your future, right? Okay, last but not least, number 5. This might be a little bit niche too, depending on the type of social worker that you want to be. But a lot of social workers go the clinical route. And to do the clinical route, you need 3,000 clinical hours of an internship where you're working under a supervisor, and before you can apply to be fully licensed as an LCSW. So I would choose to be at a place where they offer free clinical supervision hours. What that means is this person will give me 1 hour a week of supervision for free or included in this job offer that they, have offered you. I was at medical social work for my practicum and they really loved me, offered me a position, and even threw in free clinical supervision hours if I stayed on with them throughout my internship. I thought about it and I declined it because I wanted to go into school social work immediately. And so, yeah, I do have some regrets with that because I did go the clinical route. I became a therapist or an LCSW intern and doing therapy hours and school social work. And it was so expensive. Even though I was doing both, first of all, I was burnt out because I was doing like 60, 70 hours a week. And I had to pay this person. The first clinical supervisor I had was $100 an hour. And I thought that was average. I was like, oh, okay. Like if that's just like what the fee is, fine. And then after a while, I was like, oh my God, like $100 a week, $400 a month is like killing me. At the time, I just freshly graduated from my master's program. And so I was a little bit stressed out and not sure if like this was the best idea for myself. So yeah, I ended up switching and I found a supervisor that was $50 an hour, cut my like fee in half, but still it was really expensive. And I think I could have just powered through in medical social work for 2.5 years, got my clinical license, and then went into social work. Like that would have been fine too in hindsight. But definitely look for a position after your master's program that offers free clinical supervision hours. It's definitely out there and an option, but it may not be the place that you necessarily want to be. Like I know a lot of community health centers offer this because it's a nonprofit and they probably won't be paying you as much, but if you just like stick through the hard part for a couple years, it'll definitely pay off in the future and save you a lot of money. So that's all that I have. 5 things that I would do differently if I was to start all over and becoming a social worker. I obviously cannot go back in time and change these things, but you can learn from my mistakes, and I hope that that was helpful. Again, if you really enjoyed this video, please check out my other videos and like and subscribe. And thank you so much.